Hey everybody, this is Todd Galdi with Commerce Home Mortgage, and for this edition of Who Do I Know, I have a very special guest, Erica Kohlmeister, who happens to be a client of mine, but more importantly, and the reason she is with us today is she has, as I jokingly said, and she refuted, but she has a special place in heaven for people who own and manage senior care facilities and placement services. And Erica owns Affinity Placement and Care Solutions. You guys are based in Martinez, right?
We're based in Walnut Creek.
Walnut Creek, okay. Yep. Excellent, excellent. And I wanted to, well, first of all, so I had the lunch delivered to Erica from Slow Hand Barbecue in Martinez. So Erica, if you could show, yes, that's a tri-tip with tater tots. Oh my gosh, that looks so good.
Sweet tater tots, tri-tip, and all the trimmings.
Excellent. So we want to give a shout out to Slow Hand Barbecue. By the way, I've been doing this for people in my network and my sphere of influence and ordering lunches and whatnot. This was the fastest delivery by far of any of the restaurants that I've ordered from. So thumbs up to DoorDash and to Slow Hand. So at any rate, I just want to give a real quick shout out. So Erica, if you could just give a real quick background, maybe how, I know it's boring, but how you got into what you do,
Sure.
And then we'll segue into the value you bring and the services that you deliver.
Yep. So basically, like Todd said, I own Affinity Placement and Care Solutions. We deal with any non-medical care outside of the hospital and skilled nursing. That could be in-home care, assisted living, hospice care, anybody who needs care who can't afford a medical community, doesn't need a medical community, or just needs companionship, medication administration, you name it.
Okay.
Got into this business, just kind of fell in my lap, helped somebody that I know open up their own business from the ground up, very similar, and fell in love with it. Just completely hit the ground running, tears, laughter, you name it.
Yeah.
It was years in the making. I'm still working on getting better every day.
Yep.
Work with the Department of Social Services regularly, classes, certifications, whatever I can get to just have a better understanding of the industry, what people need, their resources, and I can't seem to stop.
Awesome.
So
Awesome.
It's going to evolve just like every business does, and I'm keeping up with it.
Yeah. Well, and especially with the demographic, as we are, getting older longer, right? Living longer and healthily, right? I don't know if that's a word, but living, longer. Your services are going to become more and more valuable, to families that need them. Certainly.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's, just that peek behind the curtain for what the best care is, who provides what would be most appropriate. And it really helps to know your industry. It helps to know who you're working with and get that feedback. Right. So working with somebody, for us, it's no cost to the family. Literally, you call, you have questions, we could talk for months.
Yep. And
it won't cost you anything. It's just to provide resources, provide information,
right.
And I have a lot of opinions, so I'd be happy to share all of my opinions with anybody.
I love it. Now, do you serve your patients directly, or I'm sure you have a combination of where you're hands-on, but you also have people who work for you, right? Employees that serve, and how many employees do you have that work for you?
Right now, actually, it's just a really small group, just less than a handful. Very kind of back office stuff. The more front and center is where I come in. Awesome. And we are actually starting to work with new software that's going to be more hands-on for our clients as well, so that they can see everything we see to a degree to be able to work themselves more closely with us and just kind of have that transparency.
Okay, but I want to highlight an important distinction, I think. So you personally are involved in the day-to-day care of the individual, more so than that. That's surprising to me, because most people that I run into kind of have people that they work for or people that work for them, right? And so they're kind of distant, separated, but you seem to be in the trenches.
I'm way too much of a control freak to let go. I'm
Okay.
on every call. I talk to every social worker.
Wow.
I talk to every family member that I can, the residents if I can, of communities who need to move, or maybe somebody's spouse. I'm
Wow.
kind of a chatterbug, but it's knowing that I need that control. I need to know that it's going in the right direction and that all
Right.
the steps are taken. So yeah, it's intense, but I couldn't have it any other way.
Right. I love that. But I think that's a huge benefit to people, especially people that are seniors, wanting one person to talk to, one person to relate to, and not having, kind of a cycle of different people, delivering good care, but different, it's a different person every day or whatever. So I think that's a huge benefit you bring.
That's huge, is
Yeah.
that you're not going to see a different coordinator for different days, or maybe
Right.
you call a month later. You're going to have the same person with me overseeing everything or
Right.
handling it personally. And if there's trouble down the road, I'm always here.
Yep.
So it's very hands-on. It's very interactive, and I really put everything that I have into each case.
Okay.
So I make sure that I make sure that I know what's going on.
Right. Okay. Wow. And speaking of what's going on, I'd like to segue into some of the challenges that you've been facing with COVID-19. Obviously, the community most affected by COVID-19 are seniors whose health may not be as immune system may not be as strong. But also, so if you could share some of the challenges that you've had, but at the same time, maybe some of the silver linings that have come out of this, maybe a deeper bond with your patients. Can you share some?
I mean, there aren't a lot of silver linings that have come out of it.
Nice.
I can tell you there are solutions to a lot of problems that are coming up due to COVID-19 and sheltering in place. And although it's protecting a vast majority of our more high-risk clients and people who, just really need to be less exposed than they could be, we have solutions that are in place for people who still need care and still need to be regularly living their daily activities and getting medication management and things like that. There are solutions where you're not overexposed, where you don't have to go into a group home with 500 people and then you're all hanging out together.
Yeah.
One of those solutions is in-home caregiving. Okay. Right now, certain agencies that are functioning on a tag team effort. So they have generally 2 caregivers who will tag team the week and, depending on the schedule, not leave their client until the next person gets there, or they're just their primary caregiver. So you're not overexposing to 3 different people a day on 8-hour shifts, and you got a different person every Wednesday, Tuesday, and Thursday.
Right.
It's much more mitigated, against the exposure. So, and a lot of our caregivers have PPE in place so that they can bring that, take the best measures possible to have those precautions in place.
Okay.
So even if you see, maybe somebody you love is just kind of struggling, they're not making sense, maybe they're dehydrating, maybe they're just not getting the medication deliveries on time, or they're worried about the next delivery of groceries. There are much better solutions than leaving somebody at home alone and hoping that everything's okay. Check in on them. The best thing you can do is keep checking in, have long conversations, see if you can make sense of things. And if not, we can get a companion in there, a sitter in there. We can get full care up to hospice care in there immediately.
Wow.
It's not something to be afraid of, the risk of exposure, as much as the risk of leaving somebody unattended at home who might need a second set of experienced hands.
Right.
Even if they're with you sometimes family members aren't the most experienced at dealing with dementia
Right.
or hospice. So having somebody experienced in your life, no matter who you are at any given time in your life, those experienced hands help.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Do you find yourself working with multiple clients for an extended period of time, or is it a handful of clients and then they don't need your services anymore, and then you're on to other clients? What's
it depends. If it's somebody who's looking for a boarding care or an assisted living or memory care, generally we'll work together until placement has happened, until they're settled in and I know everything's going well.
Okay.
And then they move on with their lives and do other things. And sometimes I hear from them again, sometimes they don't.
Okay.
If it's a caregiving job, generally that's an ongoing relationship until the end of the caregiving services, because there are always changes in schedules. There's always something that needs to be tweaked.
Right.
So that is an ongoing relationship.
Okay. Right. As you're working, I imagine there's kids involved, adult children of your clients. Do you find them kind of battling sometimes with your obviously educated advice and what they think their parent needs, or
yes,
a little bit?
No, I don't ever try and sway somebody and tell them, this is what you should do.
Yeah.
I tell them, these are your options. Here you have 3 or 4 options. These are what they are. Here are the pros and cons. Here's my opinion. What do you think?
Yep.
But generally what I'm giving them are going to be so filtered down that they're all pretty appropriate. Okay. So even if they make a different choice than what I would make for my loved one, it's still going to be a safer choice than just Googling something and coming up with 1,000 options.
Right. What? The internet is not perfect? I mean, it's not accurate information?
They're not going to tell you who is better at diabetic management, let me tell you.
Yeah. Awesome. And you have room for more patients, right? So.
Always.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, because they cycle through so often daily that it's just an ongoing influx. And I work very closely with Bay Area hospitals and skilled nursing to make sure that when they have somebody who needs to discharge, if it's not safe to go home alone or at all, we know exactly what to do, what steps to take. We take out all of the guesswork. Okay. So it's a daily routine.
Okay, I love it. My last question, I guess, is this is kind of a generic, general question, but is there one piece of advice that you would give to someone who's got an aging parent who maybe, obviously the dementia is starting to settle in, and you're not quite sure when to make that call? Are there signs that we can be looking for our parents that trigger, now it's time to make that call?
Yeah, definitely. I would say, first piece of advice, don't wait. It doesn't cost anything to ask questions. If it's somebody like me who just specializes in general care, I can answer a ton of questions.
Right.
It's no problem. Take the time, make the call, don't wait. Okay. If it's signs you're looking for, generally we're looking at just, unfortunately, more clutter around the house, not able to keep up, really, really poor diets, just kind of stuck in the same pattern diet, not remembering if they have eaten, not remembering if they've taken meds. Maybe they have a lot of new meds and they are overwhelmed by the schedule. Not changing clothes, just your daily general routine isn't there. And they're not able to keep up with their house responsibilities. Yeah. And that overloads into their personal responsibilities, dehydration, things like that. Okay. So
you pretty much described me, by the way. The last thing, not changing clothes, eating poorly, right?
Well, honestly, if the shoe fits, Todd, we'll talk later.
There you go. I'll give you that call. Awesome. Erica, thank you so much. Your services are so incredibly valuable. I'm going to put all your contact info up on the screen, and then if anybody...
Please call, guys.
Yes.
It doesn't cost you anything.
Exactly. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And thank you to Slow Hand. And
Yes, thank
yes,
you. I cannot wait to devour this.
there you go. I'm going to let you get to that. Heat it up if you need to.
Sounds
And,
good.
have a great night, Erica. Thanks again.
Thank you, Todd.
Okay.